Many of your works, both in Chinese and English, and I have a quite personal question. You may not need to answer. How do you write? Do you write a piece of work, finish it, put it in the drawer, leave it there for a week, for months, for years, then you keep constantly editing, or just like what the rumor said about Mozart, compose the whole symphony in his mind and write it without any corrections and editing?
Well, I might disappoint you because I write most things of the sort under deadlines and friendship, pressures of friendship. Some editors say, "Oh, write something." A friend will say, "Well, the deadline." No, not Terry. Terry will say, "Well, the deadline is August the 12th or something like that." So I try to meet every time all the deadlines. I will set aside other writing just for that. But in the English writing, it's basically again and again and again. For my academic book, nobody believes me. I told my students, I said, the first chapter of my Shanghai model book took me 22 or 23 revisions. Just stop. I'm still not happy. So for this, I would say the fastest would be 3 or 4 revisions. The slowest would be 7 or 8 or 9. Usually an essay would take me about 3 to 7 days, and each day will be about 4 or 5 hours, sometimes 6 or 7. So it really takes a lot of time, and I don't type well, so sometimes I waste a lot of time doing that. But the frustration is that you know there's a phrase there, but you forget about it. That's the hard part. I know I'm finding that phrase. It's somewhere lurking in the back of my mind from some essay I read, but I just cannot recall. So I have to put the right idea in the right place. That's the hardest. Maybe this is almost a thankless job. And this is basically why I cannot write so fast. Although in Chinese I dash it off, but then I realized that because of the influence of my English, now I'm doing revision, even with my Chinese. So now it's getting harder and harder, so I'm writing less and less. Yes.
Hi, Professor. I'm a literature student from CHK. So I'd like to ask you, how do you expect us to read your new book? Do you expect us to read in a
You mean this book, my book?
yeah, in a light way, light reading, or academic way? And the second question is, do you since you are writing in English, so I want to ask you, what is your opinion about the future of English writing in Hong Kong?
Oh, bleak. That's for the second question. For my own point to write, I'm a casual person. You can pick anything you like. If you cannot stand it, you pick another essay. Don't read this book from beginning to end. But of course, always read my dedication. The best line is dedication to my wife. My Muse at home. But you can, maybe if you are interested in Hong Kong, just pick a few essays on Hong Kong, column writing, and leave the Western stuff at the end. But I never believe in reading any book from cover to cover, except, of course, my favorite work. So do not finish the whole book, really. Read a few essays and see what you can sort of get any pleasure out of it. I do emphasize the word pleasure. If you read it with pain, then don't read it. This is not a book for pain. So, now, to get back to your second question, I use the word bleak. It's a kind of a sign of despair, because the kind of stuff that I talk about today, I'm sure David understands, you got to it. Most people just don't talk about it anymore. That's why I say it's bleak. Because they argue English is basically functional. You study English because you can write memos, you can do this, you can understand. Language is always culture. Language is never a vehicle. Language is always a culture. Even if you want to use English as for strictly functional utilitarian purposes, you still have to get into the culture. Even you write technological manuals, you have to know the culture of technology. Right? In computers, same thing. Certain words from technology have get into the English vocabulary, everybody uses the word input, input, output, all that stuff. Yeah. So now I borrow the term in computer language. You connect, right? So now I call my new seminar called Connecting the Humanity. How do you make the connect? So that to me is crucial. That no matter what language you do, no matter what time, no matter for what reason you want to learn English, there's always the background. There's always something behind it that you have to be curious about. You don't have to get into it. You say, well, what is behind this? That's the crucial part. But I think a lot of Hong Kong, especially officials, just pay attention only to face value, so that they make a kind of a report, just to make sure the figures are correct. Everything is done, so that Bo Tai Zheng can read it. But no, behind that it's all empty. There's no substance. Then you compare that to Chris Patton's lecture. Chris Patton, whether you agree or disagree, he's definitely read more than Bo Tai Zheng. You can see, I mean, it comes out with good English. But now, even that is probably dying, maybe declining, I don't know. When I was going to college, as a graduate student, I audited all the courses by all the big name professors. Not necessarily to listen to the content, but just listen to their styles. They're great orators. Every one of them knew all of them. Fleming, this guy David Omi, English history, and quite a few in Victorian literature. Just 出口成章啊. We don't have that. I'm awful as a lecturer in that sense. But you have all of that. Why? Because they're trained that way. So to me, if you want to do English well, read it aloud. Just same as in classical Chinese. Read it aloud. If it sounds good to your ears, then it's good English. If it's unreadable, it's bad English. Read the official essay, it's all bad English. So I'm full of venom, full of criticism against official English. I once wrote essays attacking it, and nobody listened. So I hope there's a day of survival for all of us. That's what I say for you. Well, finally, Ching. We are free. Is that all right?
Hi, Professor Lee. Your new book is about Hong Kong, China, and the world. My question is that among all the places you have lived in the world, which place is your favorite? I asked this question because I just came here to Hong Kong from America, so I'm still trying to adapt to the culture here.
My wife and I originally wanted to write a Chinese book, our favorite 10 places in the world. That would be a good bestseller. Cities only, mainly for me. If you read some of my stuff, my early stuff, one of my favorite cities is Prague, Polaco. And then it's hard to choose. I like London because I read so much Dickens when I was in college, especially the Chinese translation part. Whatever happens in London, I still like it. Paris because of the history. And then I like some smaller places like Granada for personal reasons in Spain. And then up north, St. Petersburg definitely. I've never been to Moscow. And then you move on to this part of the world. In Asia, one of my favorite places is Malacca, Maliujiang. I think it's charming talking about the colonial history. Macau. Macau is dying, but Macau still part of Macau. And then in China, Jiangnan Xiaozhen. I used to like Shanghai a lot, but not now. Shanghai is beyond me, it's just too much. It's getting way beyond. But Jiangnan Xiaozhen, some smaller places like Xuzhou, Zhenjiang, Yangzhou, Yangzhou, Suzhou. So 上有天堂，下有苏杭 is still true to some extent. In the southern part, I like Hong Kong a lot, but especially Shanghai. My whole Hong Kong book started from Shanghai. Basically, that's the old Hong Kong. But of course, that sort of interest is shared by a lot of people. Now I heard that Shanghai is turning commercial. Quite a few people, expats like Shanghai too. Let's see what else. There are quite a few places I haven't been to. I would love to go to Egypt because I would go to Alexandria because of the Alexandria Quartet, which I read as a college freshman. I'm not very freshman. Hey, I am. I love that heroine. Forgot her name. All this, mystical aura. So, I mean, when you get to those cities, then myth and reality all combined. I have no idea whether I will be disappointed or not. Everybody has his own list of cities, but there used to be the time when countryside is more important, but not now. I hate to say it.
How about Taipei?
Yes, Taipei is like hometown. It's hard for me to say because I hated Taipei when I was in college. You always hated your hometown. And then I went, and then I spent years in the States. I came back, I still didn't like it. Until about 15 years ago. And one day I told my friends, I said, look, I'm beginning to like Taipei. I don't know why. Now I know. Because at a certain point, there's a kind of a qualitative shift. The people there gradually settle down to their own lifestyle. Of course, before, after the liberation, the heavy liberation, all the things like that. But at a certain point, I think in the early 90s or so, they begin to settle down. Now if you go and watch the election, you can see that for all the sound and fury, the lifestyle will not change. That's what I like about Taipei now. It's a kind of a Taipei style culture life. Coffee houses, corners. Nothing fancy, nothing big, no skyscraper, unlike Hong Kong. But then everywhere you go, you talk to a shop owner, and then you feel you're part of it. That's how I feel. Not to mention the book and the classical music. But Taipei, who knows how long it's going to last? That I know. Another favorite city I have is Hsinchu. I grew up in Hsinchu. Hsinchu is always, I love Hsinchu, I hated Taipei because I moved from Hsinchu to Taipei. You always love the city of your adolescence. Huckleberry Finn syndrome. And then when you sort of get then you like all hell broke loose. In America, I used to, when I think back, believe it or not, my favorite city is, aside from New York, is Chicago. I suffered in Chicago. Oh, it's awful. I had all my existential problems in Chicago. Now thinking back, I learned the most from Chicago. And that to me is the prototypical American city. San Francisco is too nice. We don't go back anymore. Not that much. No challenge, not enough challenge. I hated LA when I lived there. But now thinking back, they have a Disney Hall, and then it's changing a little bit. So my association with cities are sort of half fictional, not like whether you can trust from your friends or not. I soak in the atmosphere. Some of my atmosphere is cooked by myself, in my own imagination. So I think it's enough. Hold on, sorry, I think it's really enough. Oh, one last one. Okay, thanks.
好快。我咧就有寫讀書報告嘅習慣，有 reading report。其實係點樣寫先會寫得再係理想一啲咧？個 reading report，即係讀書報告。
書面。
讀書報告。
讀書報告。對。Sorry, I'm an old age and part of here.
我覺得寫讀書報告是比較。
How to write a good book report in school? Surprise your teacher.
It's for my habit only.
Oh, you have it. Surprise yourself. Never begin conventionally. I told my students this way. Don't say, well, of course, I'm the minority of one. Don't say, in this report, I want to talk about this. Therefore, I will conclude that in the first paragraph. As I write it as a detective story. You're putting the questions first, the clues, the questions. How am I going to find it? And then you move on to your argument. And we'll describe the contents of the book. Use your own language. Never quote extensively. Don't quote extensively. People are bored with reading quotes because they may as well read the original copy. Yeah. And then the conclusion has to be surprisingly good, or shall we say surprisingly. In other words, don't get the predictable ending. See, when we have read so many books before, all sound the same.
But if I give you some negative comments, you will piss you off. You will angry. Negative comment of your book. If I have a negative comment.
What, do I feel angry? No, I won't feel angry. I will be amused. I'll be amused. Yeah. No, provoke me is the best. You can provoke your teacher. You can provoke the reader. That's fine. That's fine. But I don't like personality attack. Don't mix me with the book. So the book can be criticized. I don't really care. There will be a review from the New York, not from New York Review, from South China Morning Post by a friend of mine. I said, it's all in my hand. You do whatever you like. So he criticized it to some extent.
Yes, maybe you write the letter, you write the reading report to the newspaper. Oh, I commend Mr. Li Aofan and I post to the newspaper and maybe you read it and you're angry.
No, I'm never angry. No, that's bad manners. That's bad manners. When somebody gets criticized, if they attack me and my wife personally about our private life, I'm instantly angry. But not about my book. Now, we were furious about one such attack, but I won't mention it either. We're not speaking to that all. Yeah, it's not severe because that breaks the sort of the ethical code. Aside from that, you can do whatever. See, I do believe that the text, once published, assumes a life of its own. I should have said that. It's out of my hands. Really, I really feel that. Now I think back, oh, you don't write that. Then you say, do you like it? No, I don't, I'm old. So you may feel nostalgic about the time you started writing something. Basically, once the text is produced, that has its own life. So that has always been my principle. So feel free. 多谢。Yeah, many thanks.
Thank you.